And welcome to the Enthusiasm Project, which I still don't have a tagline for. Today, though, today, I'm not alone, and this is the first guest who does not live with me yet on the podcast, which goes into kind of what I had talked about when I started my first episode, and it was just me, and the whole point of what I wanted to do with the Enthusiasm Project when it started, which is sort of profiling people who are doing cool things. So my acclaimed guest today
is already so much pressure.
Actually, he has his own podcast called Real Disagreement, REEL Disagreement, and it's Rob Bowman.
Hello. It's weird to hear someone else say hello, welcome, not me doing my own podcast. It kind of freaked me out.
So, okay, we have a lot to go through.
Sure.
But to start off with, I tell people about your podcast all the time.
Thanks.
Because it's really cool. And I don't know the best way to explain it, and I feel like when I explain it, I go too long.
So I feel like you should get a co-producer credit on it sometimes because you facilitate our recording of it. It's two friends who like each other and are smart, interesting people and don't agree about movies. We each pick a movie and force the other one to watch it, and then we fight about it for about an hour.
Right, and it's not always on topic.
No, it tends to stray into things that, I mean, I'm biased. I think it's interesting, and I think we get into cool cultural and intellectual ideas. The other person on it, Amy, my co-host, is a brilliant person. She's interesting, and she's funny, and she's strange, and she's interesting and funny and strange in exactly ways that I'm not. I like to think that I'm interesting and funny and strange, but we have kind of counter styles of humor, counter styles of intellectual interest, and so they clash in nice ways.
Right. And I've known Amy for a long time. And so it was funny because the way that you and I met is now we work together.
Right.
Because your day job is teaching.
That's true.
My day job is teaching.
It's a good day job.
It is. That's a good job.
It's a great job, and it's good for people who have other interests as well.
Yes.
Because it allows a lot, you can bring your outside interest to work in a really interesting way because enthusiasm is an important thing in the classroom. And so when I'm interested in something, I'm an English teacher, so we need to read, we need to write, we need to challenge ideas. So if I see something interesting, I just bring it in.
Right.
Be like, hey, let's talk about this because we're still working on our skill sets, but we can talk about anything we want.
Right.
Which is really cool.
How many years have you been teaching?
This is the end of my 8th year.
The end of your 8th year, and you've been at the same school as me for the past year.
Yeah.
But you were also just selected as a teacher of the year for our campus. So
that's true.
I feel like you're pretty good.
It's been, this is the real boasty part of it. It's been a very decorated career, for lack of a better term. This will be my second time getting it in California. And I got it in Colorado has a different version of it. Different schools have different versions, but I got it in Colorado a couple times. And because I spent my first 4 years teaching there. So it's been good, but I don't think because I'm special in any way, so much as I really bring everything I have to it. And I'm real excited to be there.
You project your enthusiasm?
That's right. I make the enthusiasm borderline tangible. The room is just crowded with enthusiasm. I was going to say sticky, but that sounded worse.
Yeah, it's high school.
Yeah.
So then, so we're trying to get all the accolades up front,
sure,
because having a podcast is also a good excuse to just talk to people that you sometimes feel like you have a hard time finding time to talk to. So it's also an excuse for people to just hang out.
Yeah. Let's set up some ground rules real quick.
Okay.
I want to talk about profanity. All right, let's make a list of what I can and can't say.
Just say all the words and I'll buzz you. And
that's just it. So you can beep things you feel you need to beep. Okay, let's start anything. Small.
I don't edit this. Yes.
Crap's okay. How about shit?
They're all okay.
Fuck?
Sure.
How about, you say they're all okay. That makes me want to go to terrible places.
It's, you know what? The guest is always right. I learned that from McDonald's.
Okay, there's all kinds of things you shouldn't learn from McDonald's.
Here's what I learned at McDonald's is growing up.
Here's what I learned at McDonald's. This is about to be the saddest short story I've ever read.
No, sorry. Here's one of the things I learned at McDonald's.
Oh God. Okay.
Is I was 9 years old. We went to McDonald's. I was in the car with my mom, and she pulled up to the first window where you pay, and she paid, and they said, ma'am, could you park? Because whatever, it's going to take a while. And she said no, because they'd made her park a bunch of times in the front of the store and they didn't bring out the food and it took a bunch of time or whatever. So she was stuck sort of at the window and she refused to park. Or no, sorry. We pulled up to the second window, the pickup window.
Right.
So we're at the
I'm
first
assuming
window.
cars are bunching up behind you.
Many
Okay,
cars.
Good.
And in between these two windows is a giant sign that says the rules of McDonald's. Rule number 1, the customer is always right.
Wait, this was a sign that was like facing customers, or is
It was
a
just
sign
on
that
the
you
side
could
of a
see-
building. It was literally like a billboard. It was
Amazing.
It was like
Okay.
10 feet by 4 feet, like a huge.
So it was serendipitous. It was nearby. It wasn't on the restaurant.
Yes.
Okay.
No, it was literally attached to the wall of the restaurant.
Okay. All right. Okay. The billboard thing had me confused. Okay.
Yes.
Now I get it.
So rule number 1, the customer is always right. Rule number 2, if the customer is wrong, refer to rule number 1.
This sign has a lot of attitude.
Well, I don't know who. I guess it was for the employees. But anyway, she was like, that sign right there says the customer's always right. I'm the customer. And she just got into it. She's not like an argumentative person.
Wow.
And I was mortified. I was 9. I literally crawled in the back seat of the car and just hit on the floor like a duck and cover drill. And we were there for like a long time where they were bringing out food to the cars behind us. And my mom just
Whoa.
kept pointing at the sign. The customer's always right. Customer's always right. Finally, at some point, we ended up leaving. And not 2 days later, we were driving by again and the sign was gone.
Holy shit. So your mom effectively changed the entire corporate culture of at least that
At
McDonald's.
least that one franchise. So,
Okay, so I don't know your mom. I've never met her.
right,
I know you.
right.
Through you, I assume your mom is a lovely person.
She is.
Just sweet,
She is.
wholesome, nice lady. Does she live here in the desert?
No, they live out of state.
You live out of state. Okay. What state?
Nevada.
Okay. So here's what I'm wondering. What was going on with your mom that day that she belittled a minimum wage worker?
Well, at the time, I mean, what? She was, I don't know when this must have been. She was either recently or about to be divorced.
Interesting.
Basically single parent,
Sure.
raising me, dealing with me. Just stuff life happening, working a couple of jobs. And then this person wants you to park for your French fries and it
You're
just
like,
wasn't
that's-
happening
that's
that day.
the last thing. That's the last straw. I am not moving this fucking car.
But it taught me the guest is always right.
Okay,
You know?
are you... I feel like there's so many lessons to take from this, and that's not the right one. There's so many possibilities. All right, so let's... Well, are you an only child?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay. You say that so emphatically. Like there were others, but they were killed off. They culled the herd to be
Well,
just you.
My parents were married for 10 years before I came along, so I don't know what that...
Oh.
I don't know. I guess they don't listen to this, but they don't strike me as having been like that responsible. They got married like basically right out of high school. They were married for 10 years.
Yeah.
And then I came along, so I don't know if I was really planned or really accidental or if there's like a secret kid. I don't know.
Right.
Um,
I'm going to email the link for this directly to your mom
okay, great.
because I want her to know
Prodigy.net.
what you learned from this moment. Remarkably, I too am a child of divorce. I think our generation, that's kind of a
Yeah.
nearly ubiquitous thing. But my divorce memories are specifically tied to McDonald's as well.
Huh.
Because, now very differently though, I did not learn the customer is always right. I learned about toy safety for children.
Okay.
Because it was a terrible, like my parents' divorce was a nightmare.
Right. So, as was mine.
Yeah, terrible. So I don't think any of them are pleasant.
Right. Well,
But-
this went on for like years. It was
Oh
terrible.
yeah, mine was it was bad. So in my birth father, when I refer to my dad, that's actually my stepdad. It's this whole thing. So, but my father, my biological father, it was not an easy childhood. So they would switch. Like when it was visiting time, we'd go to McDonald's, right? Because it was a public place.
Mine was a Denny's.
At least yours had bottomless coffee. Well, mine had the playground.
Yes.
So I'd play on the playground, but I grew up in New Orleans, which is hot. I mean, relative to here, it's not hot, but hot. And my overwhelming memory of this isn't going and hanging out with my dad or having time with him. It's playing on the McDonald's playground equipment at the time. Which, do you remember this? It was all made out of metal.
Yes.
It would burn the living
Yes.
shit
There was
out
the
of you.
hamburger jail.
Oh, okay. So fucking Mayor McCheese, you'd climb up into his hollowed out body
Right.
on a rickety iron ladder
Mm-hmm.
and then crawl inside his fucking head and look out at the world from inside his mouth.
Yeah. I mean, that's the place to feel safe as a child.
What? It's an old chestnut to say like today's kids are soft or whatever else. But we had playground equipment designed to hurt and traumatize us.
Right. And it did.
And it succeeded.
Right. Many, many burns. We had metal
So many
tricycles that were
burns.
just, the tricycles were just metal. The seats were metal. And that's
I remember
it.
metal slides
Metal
that were way
slides.
too tall.
Oh, yeah.
So we'd dangle off the end and drop and twist ankles and laugh because that's just how play worked at the time.
Right. I got my face kicked by some cleats on one of those slides. I broke my wrist on one of those swings.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those old playgrounds.
They were terrific. Really
They
good.
were great.
That's how we culled the herd. That's why there's less children in our generation. So many died.
Yeah. And those McDonald's play places.
Yeah. Just bloodbath.
Well,
Where were we going?
so, oh, that you can say the F word.
Oh, good. Because I did like 4 times in that story.
Oh my God. Okay.
Yeah.
That was bringing up some memories that I didn't remember having.
You're welcome.
But
This is now the trauma podcast.
that's great. People would listen.
They would love it.
That's what happens to Heather. She gets the most views on videos that involve her like crying or being in a
Oh.
thing. Like if something bad happened, people will watch. If she's just like, here's strategy for like making the best business
Right.
cards in the world, everyone's like, but are you
Yeah.
sad about it?
Yeah, but how does it make you feel when you see that card stock?
I know it makes me
Yeah.
feel real good.
Yeah, well, that's
Matte
now no one's
finish.
going to listen.
I know no one cares if
Has
you
to
feel
make you
good.
feel bad.
Right. So
Okay, I just got a great idea for like video vlog. The paper cut vlog. It's just you deliberately giving yourself paper cuts and then putting like different things in them: salt, lemon juice, motor oil, your own tears. This would make $1 million.
this would, and I'm not gonna do it, but it would. So if
Okay,
anyone,
you know, I feel like I give you the idea, you go do it. That's how this works.
we would, when I was a kid, we would do the thing where you put salt on ice and squeeze it as hard as you can,
Oh.
and then it burns.
Why did you do this?
Because they said to. My
Because
cousin
you just
said
needed to feel
Yeah.
something.
You just needed to feel something. I
Yeah.
was
Just
11.
need
Middle
sensation.
school was bleak.
Oh man, this
Oh,
has gone down dark alleys.
yeah. Well, we're
You're
12
welcome.
minutes in.
12 minutes in, and we're just gonna explore trauma and pain. We did that thing when we were kids where I had this friend named Mike. I'm gonna just eliminate last names for all this. So Mike was the kid who you could talk him into anything, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we would mix all the condiments or whatever else we could find in the fridge and make him drink it, and then watch him vomit.
Oh, great.
That was a big pastime for me as a kid.
He would vomit every time.
Not every time. He had a pretty remarkably strong stomach. I don't remember him ever turning down a concoction, and we tried to make them bad. It was
I feel like I don't have as specific memories of that, but I remember those situations. I remember having my wisdom teeth out in high school, and you can't eat solid foods. I had all 4 of them taken out at once.
same.
And they're like, you can't eat anything solid. So I was like, I really like Pop-Tarts. I'm going to make a Pop-Tart milkshake. So just pour some milk, put a Pop-Tart, blend it all up.
Another $1 million idea. I feel like this has real potential.
So bad. It was.
Really?
I mean, maybe if there were ice cream in there, it would have been good, but it was just milk and tart, and it was just,
Milk and tart.
it was so bad.
Milk and tart. That's a sad punk duo.
Yeah, they're at Coachella this weekend,
They are. They're going to be great.
the small stage.
I saw so many Porsche SUVs in traffic driving here.
Well,
That's almost the official vehicle of the Coachellers.
well, and there's so many private jets flying in.
So many
We
beautiful.
live very close to where Coachella is taking place.
Yeah, very close. I live right next to the small private airport.
Right, which is not normally super busy
No.
until now because they seem to fly directly over my house and then land next to your house. And I've noticed every time I go out, there's another private jet happening.
Yeah, it's incredible, actually. I love seeing the planes come in. I find it really amusing, and I think they're very beautiful. But, man, there was something I can't remember now. I was going to tell you something now. I can't remember what it was.
Well,
It doesn't matter. It'll come back.
I'm going to steer this train back to
Yeah, good.
these tracks.
Good
Not
luck.
that it totally matters.
Oh, yeah, good luck.
But, so, Teacher of the Year, obviously well-deserved after what
thank
we've
you.
just heard.
Yeah, clearly.
But beyond that, so
Yeah.
when I started this whole thing, because you watch movies a lot.
I do.
You've seen What About Bob?
I have,
Okay.
yeah.
And you
Long
remember
time, but yeah,
Richard Dreyfuss's kid, Siggy.
kind of.
Okay, he was obsessed with dying. He was
Yes.
So in the thing, he's just like, we're gonna die, we're all gonna die, and he's paralyzed by
Yeah,
that fear.
yeah.
That is me.
Okay.
When you realize you're gonna die and you can't do anything about it.
Yes.
And then the flip side to that though is it's super motivating to go like, I can't waste time. Like I gotta do
Yeah.
There's a big drum set right there that I wanted since I was 10, but I didn't get till I was 30.
Yeah.
Because I was like, at some point it's not even gonna be possible, and then I'll never get the chance to do it.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of my thing, was to find people who are doing stuff like that, whether it's a job or a hobby or whatever, and just sort of go like, why is this the thing that you've chosen? I feel like you're someone who uses his time I don't know, in fulfilling ways.
Sure.
And I mean, what do you do? Writing, home repair.
Yeah.
You got a whole family.
Yeah.
I assume that takes a couple hours a week.
You know, to be a good father takes a long time. To be a bad father does not take much. So I've gone with that route. Just a shitty dad.
Great.
Because it's much more efficient on my time.
Right. Well, when your kids have their own podcasts, when they grow up, they can just reference this clip.
They're going to talk about this.
Yeah. They can just play that
intense.
in there. It's really nice that you gave that to them.
No, yeah. If they're really happy, they won't be good artists. So every so often I have to just belittle one of them in front of the other. And I trade off which one.
Right.
I don't do that. That's terrible. So yes is my answer to your not yes, no question.
Right. Well, because those things, teaching and
Yeah.
family and husband and parent, are all very like giving things.
Yes.
They're like, it's a lot of energy and effort and emotion.
Yes.
And then you could easily just go like, that's it, I'm done, which is what a lot of people do. And then, but you don't, and you do other stuff. So what do you do and why? And
Sure.
like,
So, okay, I don't understand relaxing.
Me
It's a
either.
thing I don't get. My wife, who is a lovely person,
She is.
very clear. She's supportive and she's an artist and she does tons of things as well. But she's very good at relaxing. She can turn it off. I don't have an off switch. I can't do. I can focus. I can do a single thing. It's not I have to be on my phone texting or whatever it is, but I have to have a task.
right.
If I'm not at a task, I don't have any happiness. And I feel like everything's falling apart. So I have to do something, even if it's something relatively minor. I cook a lot.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I cook a lot. And I cook from scratch. From scratch in ways that don't make reasonable sense. Like, why in the world do you need to make your own cheese from scratch? That's not a thing anyone needs to do.
From milk or like
milk.
from the animal?
Well, if I had an animal, I would totally do it. But like going and buying a gallon of milk and getting citric acid and rennet tablets and salt and saying, I'm going to devote today to making my own mozzarella, when I could just buy it and it would cost less.
Yeah, that's what I do. It's delicious.
Yeah, but it's not the same.
It's not the same.
And there's such intense. I think about this with writing. I think about it with construction projects. I think about it with everything. The joy I get from finishing a task makes me so happy
Right.
that I'm willing to go through the pain of doing the task.
Right. I understand that 100%.
Writing is, whenever someone tells me they really like writing, this is not very nice. I'm not proud of this, but my reaction is, oh, you must not be good at it then. Because doing it well is so fucking hard.
Right.
That if they really like it, I go, oh, it's too bad you're not good at it then. Because if you're really good at it, it's fucking really hard to make it good.
Well, there's a difference too between like something that makes you happy and something that makes you satisfied.
Thank you. I could not agree more.
And the satisfaction is probably longer living than just like happiness.
I think so.
I don't know.
I don't know. I hope, because I might be doing my life all wrong.
Well,
I might be screwing this all up.
it's too late to look back.
Right.
Just keep going.
I'm at 40 now. I have no chance of changing who I am. And it's, so with writing, I'm so satisfied when it's done and I like it. Like it's, oh, that was good. I did a good job. But writing it was like blood's coming out of my eyes.
Yeah. Oh, I understand that.
The construction project at my home that you just saw, I built this big outdoor kitchen thing along with my father-in-law, who was the lead on it because I'm not handy. I'm not good at any of these things. And I did not enjoy making it for a single moment.
Right.
I love that it's done to a degree where I'm almost inordinately proud of it. Like
it is spectacular, and it's custom, and it's good.
Yeah, and I was like figuring out, okay, what's a cost-effective way to do this, and how can I make it work? And because I'm still on the public school teacher income and all the rest, so how can I make it happen? And that was really satisfying, and now I'm really proud of it. With making cheese from scratch, I could go and just buy it. It's fine. And I don't make it from scratch very often because it's time consuming and there's little kids running around and it's very temperature sensitive and stuff. But when I have it and it's done, I'm like, motherfuckers, I made this. I made this. It's incredibly satisfying with, making pasta from scratch or whatever else.
Right.
I really like doing it. and I get weirdly competitive about it against people who aren't even necessarily real people. Okay, so
who are the fake people?
Well, it's not that they're fake. They're not
in competition with you.
They're not individuals in a way. Okay, so like we live here in the Coachella Valley. It's beautiful, and there's tons of tourists, and there's tons of restaurants and all the rest. But all the restaurants kind of suck.
I mean, there's a lot of not great ones that are open for 6 months. There's some gems.
You're going to have to make me a list because they all prepare food for the population here, which is largely elderly.
That's true.
So no one knows how to season food, for instance. Like put fucking salt on the meat as you grill it. That's how it works. That's literally how it works. The Maillard reaction of how meat caramelizes and everything, it doesn't work as well unless you season it. Why don't they fucking do that? It's because they're feeding 80-year-olds who can't handle all the salt. I can handle the salt. I will be fine. Please cook my food correctly. Learn what medium rare is, you sons of bitches.
So you're asking to be assaulted. I don't have a button, but
no, it's the would have been convenient there.
It really would have.
No, I enjoyed it though. But like so with pizza, like I can't find good pizza in this town.
Yeah, pizza. Yeah. I mean,
I can't find it.
I can find a lot of okay pizza.
There's a lot of okay pizza.
It's hard to find bad pizza.
Okay.
I mean,
Mario's, which everyone here fucking loves Mario's. Mario's is a piece of shit restaurant. I went in there, I was excited. I was like, everyone's super into this place. It's a family-owned chain, which I find kind of an intriguing notion.
They're super philanthropic.
You're going to lose them
locally.
as a sponsor of the show after
this episode brought to you
by Mario's Italian Kitchen. Home with the largest glass of wine in the world. Okay, here's their acknowledgement their food sucks. Get a giant fucking glass of wine to go with our food so you won't notice how bad it is.
Well, the thing not to speak ill of local, but the best thing on their menu is they have a great Chinese chicken salad. Okay. But it is an Italian restaurant.
Yeah, that's not a recommendation.
So
that's the best thing on their menu is a salad, and it's a Chinese chicken salad?
Yeah.
I fucking hate this place.
That's the issue there.
So where this goes is I feel I am in direct competition with every pizza maker in town. So I devoted, no kidding, weeks of experimenting at home to come up with my own pizza dough recipe.
Oh.
That would be exactly what I wanted it to be. And I'm like ordering special flours and different kinds of yeast and working on my technique until now I can make a pizza dough that will crush anyone in the valley.
This is the kind of thing Heather would do where it's like just constant experimentation. I'm like, I don't know, Kraft macaroni and cheese in the pot.
Well, and so my pizza that I make, it's a big production. It takes me a couple days to get the dough ready.
But we're hungry now.
But my pizza is without question the best pizza in the valley.
Well, I can't.
I'll guarantee it is.
As of now, I can't verify that. So
well, I will have you over and we will make this happen.
I look forward in 6 months to the pizza you'll start making this weekend.
There's that. I have to cure everything. I wanted to cure my own like cured meats for a while, but I couldn't figure out a place in my home to do that because you need a lot of space. But anyway, so I like doing. So I'm in competition against just everyone out there all the time, which is not healthy.
Right.
It's not good.
Yeah, I have a weirdly competitive side too, which like it doesn't come out until it has the opportunity to come out, and then it's like it's if it can come out rare enough, I think it's a strength.
Right, exactly. As long as it doesn't ruin personal relationships.
Right. Which fortunately it doesn't. But I've also been like lately, I've just been reminding myself like comparison is the thief of joy. Wherever that old quote is originally.
I don't know this. I like this.
I forget who it was originally attributed to, but
I'm willing to bet it was someone mediocre.
I'm willing to bet at some point it's attributed to Marilyn Monroe.
Oh,
but
kind of a jab at Marilyn Monroe there.
You taught yearbook, I taught yearbook, and the number of Marilyn Monroe senior quotes that are not things Marilyn Monroe said are
all her quotes about the internet being my favorite.
Right. But that's what I keep like. Okay, you're really only competing with yourself, but sometimes you just really also want to win.
I don't understand the obsession now with Marilyn Monroe on T-shirts where she's got tattoos on her.
Oh yeah, I don't know.
And have you seen this? Though?
I have. Yeah, they're black.
There's
it's
a lot
like
of it. It's a very I don't know what it is. She's been appropriated by a subculture that she's beautiful, sure, but I don't find her very interesting, I guess.
From what I know, like probably not the best role model.
Yeah, not great. I'm aware of how she died. But well, I'll ask students who, okay, so you have this picture. Why do you like Marilyn Monroe? And they'll go, well, because I do. I'll say, name one movie she was in. And they cannot do so.
The Marilyn Monroe biography?
That one with her and the thing?
The black and white one.
You know, like she's been in truly great films. I mean, God, top 50 movies ever made with Some Like It Hot. I mean,
Right.
top 10 comedies. It's great. They haven't seen it.
No.
So I don't understand why they're obsessed with her. Why the iconography of her is taken off like it has.
I don't know.
I don't know. But anyway, so
Competition.
It's this is so with the writing thing. This is a story I tell students all the time, and it's one that I think you will understand, and that they don't understand. They understand it in the abstract, but they can't relate to it.
Right. The life
Because
experience.
I think because you're a few years younger than me.
Uh-huh.
I think you are at the cusp. You're at the very edge of the last, hopefully not last forever, but for where we are now, the last wave of students of teenagers who had to leave the house to do things.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So when I was in high school, I cook because my first job I got when I was 14, cooking at this little Chicago Greek restaurant, working illegally under the table for less than minimum wage. It was miserable, but I learned a lot. And then from there, I was working at this coffee shop at this place called Black and Red.
Okay.
Black and Red is still around. They would call themselves a psychotronic book and music store. It's one of the best record stores in the country. It's extraordinary. It has, at the time, this is pre-internet, so things you couldn't find anywhere else you could find there. Like they had the Anarchist Cookbook on the shelves. Like whatever was the banned book.
I forgot about that.
They had a whole section of like William Burroughs stuff. So you could get a copy of Queer or Junkie, which was fucking hard to do at the time. So I'm working there, and they had a room devoted to what they called psychotronic video, which was extreme cult stuff. So that's how I saw all the traumas.
That's what I was gonna ask about earlier when we were talking about movies. I remember when I saw Romeo and Juliet, I was like, "What is
movie?
this?"
Well, and you know who wrote that?
I don't.
Okay, have you seen Guardians of the Galaxy?
I have.
Okay, so Gunn, the guy who wrote and directed that, his first screenplay credit is Romeo and Juliet.
Seriously,
he comes from the trauma thing.
Really? Okay, that makes sense.
Yes.
That
so
makes
when
a
people
lot
were
of
outraged
sense.
about like his tweets and all, which I'm not defending what he tweeted, but it was like, do you know who he worked for? Like his job was to be offensive for years.
Surf
That's what
Nazis
he
must
did.
die, and
Oh God, I love all those movies. They're the trauma movies. There's something so
terrible, but
sincere.
yeah,
I like that.
Yes,
it's a bunch of people with zero budget trying to make something happen.
it reminds me of YouTube 10 years ago, and that's
Yeah,
what I loved. It was just
I love
weird.
it so much.
Yeah, that was my
Oh, seeing
thing.
Toxic Avenger 4 in the theater is still one of the greatest. Snuck into the theater with a flask of whiskey, and this is before I was a teacher. Anyway, so so I'm working at the coffee shop in the back of this bookstore, right? And the coffee shop had just opened, and we're trying to get people in. And at the time, the whole poetry reading thing was coming back into vogue. So we're
Right.
talking about 94, something like that. Oh, God, that's a long time ago.
Yeah, that's like a really long time ago.
And I was into writing and trying to get good at it, and started up this poetry reading thing at this coffee shop I was working at, and was trying to promote it. And at my high school, I was regarded as such a nerd and a reject that no one was interested in anything I was talking about.
Right, I understand.
Yeah, no one in this room can relate. So I started publicizing to the other schools, and our rival high school, I went to Arvada West and Pomona High School, they got really into it. And this little coffee shop I was working at that had seats for 20 people, something like that. We had poetry at the Black and Red, and it got enormous.
Really?
All these kids came. There'd be 100 people sitting on the floor. And so I'm writing every week because I want to come up with new stuff. I'm hosting this thing, and I'd find, because the Denver poetry scene was really thriving, actually. It was really good. There's some really interesting, good writers there who did interesting stuff and became great playwrights and on and on. I'd have one of them featured every week. So suddenly I'm hobnobbing with these adults who are great writers. They're showing up at my little shitty rinky-dink thing that has tons of people coming to it. I did that for a couple years. And it turned into a really big, wonderful kind of incubator of talent. People who we had bands come and play who went on to really interesting things. And in different iterations, there was a band called Idiot Stick, of all the names in this world, and then they changed the name to the Flemtones. And then the key member of that, one of the key members of that, started Mr. Pac-Man, which is a big like cult band, which are, God, Mr. Pac-Man's terrific. They're very interesting stuff. They all dress up in costumes. They like wrestle monsters on stage.
I'm on board.
You will love Mr. Pac-Man. So, and that's kind of the group I'm hanging out with. And that's where I'm, for lack of a better phrase, kind of cutting my teeth as a writer, is in this kind of cauldron of I have to produce every week. There's all these interesting people around, and I'm hosting it. So I have to be not terrible, at least. And that was really an interesting thing. And having to communicate with all these different people, and then going to art openings and galleries, and getting thrown into a really thriving art scene and music scene and writing scene. And I don't know where that is anymore these days.
I don't know.
People can make things in isolation.
Yeah.
Very easily, and put them out through YouTube and whatnot. But that commingling of talents is not a thing that really happens as much anymore.
That is the thing. It's super funny because the last like 3 episodes of this podcast have been Heather and I talking as we're trying to put together. We're just calling it an event later this year, but it's essentially, it's digital media related, but it's to bring people who want to make stuff kind of together and see sort of what happens and sort of develop that sense of community, because there's so many people. All those people are still out there, but they're just isolated. Because that's what I relate to. Like, I make videos usually 1 a week, and I like the process. Like, I like using the gear, but I also, it's like writing. Like, it's painful, and it's torture, and it's never as good as I want it to be when it's done. But the feeling of like, it always bugs me, because at least through YouTube, when you're done and you click like publish, nothing, you just click and then it just goes, like, page refreshes. And I'm like, there needs to be like confetti
right,
or at least like a buzzer or something.
When I finished my first book, I bought myself a bouquet of flowers and a bottle of champagne.
There you go.
It was fantastic.
Because there should be
I sat in my backyard and toasted myself.
And
it was great.
Feeling of like, it was torture to get the thing done, but now that it's done, the feeling of like, it's.
Well, so that brings me to 2 questions for you and I both, I guess, and as creativity as a thing. When you put up your video, do you get constructive, critical feedback?
I do.
'Cause I'm sure you get trollish kind of stuff.
I don't get too much, because my stuff's not. It's not like. It's not in that genre of.
Okay, it's not troll baity.
Yeah, it's really.
We're gonna start talking DC Extended Universe, Cinematic Universe, and get everyone to hate you.
Yeah, it's not. It's not. It's not usually that. I've gotten weird ones. I've gotten ones that are just like the completely absurd ones, where it's just like mean for no reason. They don't mean like
you suck. Fuck
that's
you.
irrelevant. Well, yeah, those like who cares? And then some of them will be. Like, it's actually one of my like childhood friends will randomly show up and write like a paragraph where he's like, "This is amazing, whatever, but you annoy me at the same time, and I hate this and this," and like, and I'm like, I don't even know what to make of this. But I've been a part of some like online groups where it's like a small group, everyone shares their channels, everyone gives feedback, and we'll do like constructive, like, "Hey, this is what's working, this is what's not. I love this. Have you thought about that?" And I hate getting that feedback, but it also really helps.
Yeah, well, okay, so that gets to, my 2, the formative moments that stand out to me. I'm sure there's ones I don't process that way, but we're both extraordinarily painful, and we're really important.
Right.
So, and I think that's something that's lacking when people, because everyone thinks, oh God, this is going to sound real shitty. I've had so many students who say, well, I'm going to be a YouTube star.
Oh, yeah.
Or I'm going to be a rapper. I say, great. How many videos have you made?
Yes.
How many rap songs have you written? They go, well, none. I say, well, then you're not going to be. You have to work through and get good at it. And not that I'm a master of anything necessarily, but I've gone through these processes. And in high school, I was acting. I really thought I was going to be an actor. And I was deluded enough to think, oh, I'm going to be a great actor one day. And my drama teacher was also my creative writing teacher. And she pulled me aside one day and said, listen, Rob, you are a much better writer than you are actor, and that's where you need to put your efforts. And all I heard was, you're a bad actor.
Right, that's how I would hear.
And it hurt horribly. It hurt so much. And I was terribly wounded by this. And I didn't take from it what I should have, which she was trying to tell me, go do this other thing, put your effort there.
Right.
And improve at it. Doesn't mean you will never act or whatever, but this is something to concentrate on. And it hurt terribly. And then when I had my little poetry thing, there was a writer who I'm going to keep relatively anonymous because the details of his life are so profoundly sad and it will wreck people. He's passed now, but he was a very big deal. He was a writing hero to me.
Okay.
Who was an award-winning playwright as well. And this is a very brilliant man. That he would come to my little shitty event is bizarre, frankly. And whenever I saw him, I'd show him my new poem of here's this thing. And he was always very nice and very supportive and, oh, it's good, you know, and that's about it. Then one day, I can't remember what piece it was, but I showed him something. And he said, he kind of let out this long sigh and went, well, do you want me to tell you that's good or do you want me to tell you what I really think?
Oh.
And I said, oh, how can these not be the same thing? And I said, well, I want to know what you really think, right? And he said, everything you've ever written, everything you've ever shown me has been terrible.
Mm.
You have yet to have a single original idea in your head, and you've yet to say anything in an original way. Everything you show me is a cliche and is uninteresting, and I was devastated. Because he wasn't being mean. It was completely emotionless. It was completely flat.
Just objective.
Here's what it is. Here's how it works, kid. And I was crushed. And I think I said something along the lines of, so what should I do? He said, if I was you, I would go home and burn everything I'd ever written and start over. And if you have an idea that's a cliche, you need to recognize it and you need to tear it up. You need to start over. And I was gutted. I was 16, 17 years old.
I can't imagine.
I was trying so hard to keep the tears at bay. They were there. I'm sure I had tears running to my face, but I didn't cry. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but I didn't, in that moment, was not prepared to cry in front of my hero. You know, as I've gotten older, now I'd probably be okay with it. But at the time, I was really trying to save face. I went home and very literally built a bonfire of all my writing and burned it.
Wow.
I got rid of everything.
Wow.
And started over and put everything through the test of, is this interesting? Is this worth saying? Does it say it in an interesting new way? And if it doesn't, I toss it. That was a huge moment for me. That was okay, it's not enough just to do it. I have to do it well. I have to really, just the fact that I've written this thing, well, who the fuck am I? How does that mean it has worth?
Right.
There's millions of people who want to do it. Why am I worth listening to? And it was a hard question to have to answer. And that doesn't mean I necessarily have blossomed into the person who is worth listening to. I'm holding myself to a really high standard.
Right. It's a different approach than just...
Yeah. Just as if I don't have something interesting to say, it's not that I quit, because I think someone could come from that and go, well, then I'm just not going to do it.
Yeah.
But that's not the right response. To my way of thinking, the right response is, okay, how do I make it that good? How do I pursue that?
Right.
And that's an interesting thing, because I think that, I'd say this to students all the time, we'll talk about, they get really into the idea of talent or how smart someone is or whatever else. And I always brush aside, I go, I've met plenty of smart people who are failures.
Oh, yeah.
And I've met plenty of talented people who I'm not impressed by. It's, what are you going to do with it?
Exactly.
What do you now move forward with? How do you work through that stuff? Here's a different version of it. Whenever, like, American Idol or The Voice or whatever else, someone goes on there and they have just these beautiful songbird voices. I'm never impressed. I don't give a shit. That someone can naturally sing, I don't give a fuck. I'm impressed by someone who writes a song. I don't care about God-given talent. I care about, okay, what did you work to? If someone's 6'9", I'm not impressed they're a basketball player. I'm impressed by Spud Webb being a basketball player when he's 5'5". That dude's amazing. Like, that guy's awesome to me.
Yeah. Well, because I grew up like listening to a bunch of punk music and like trying to play guitar and stuff. And in the guitar world, it's a lot of like, how many notes per minute can you play and this kind of thing. And like, that band sucks because it's the same 3 chords over and over again. And I remember hitting a point where I'm like, it is the same 3 chords, but they wrote it and you didn't. Like, they put them in that order. It's not that it was complicated, but it was that they did it and it struck a chord, no pun intended, with other people. And that's not exactly the same thing.
No, it totally is.
But it's less about just it is less about the talent. There's a quote that I always share with my students from Calvin Coolidge. Is when we start like a big short film project. It's the Perseverance quote where he's like, perseverance. I forget the exact thing, but it's persistence is key to like overcoming all things, and it goes into like unrewarded talent is abundant, and there are many like homeless educated people and blah blah blah. Like just because you have those things doesn't guarantee you're entitled to anything. It's your willingness to push through it. And what I always tell like the students is if they want to be a writer or a filmmaker or a designer, they need to write and film and design. If they want to be a doctor, it's different. Like they can't just go be
Start
a doctor.
operating.
But
That's when you go to jail.
But there's a lot of stuff where all they need to do is do it.
Yep.
And if they're not actually doing it, especially with the tools that are around, then it's like you have how do you expect to succeed if you literally can?
Well, I think about Robert Rodriguez and Rebel Without a Crew and all his early movies of just, you go make it.
Yeah, exactly.
Go do it. It doesn't matter what you have available. And he was having to work with film stock.
Right.
Like El Mariachi, I think, had like a $10,000 budget. 90% of which
Most of it's
went to film stock.
Right.
Now with digital, just go make it.
Yeah, because that's what people always ask. Like, why is that in that movie? Like, why did they not fix that? And it's like, because they only had this many feet of film left.
That's what he had in the barrel at the time.
There's literally no way they can redo it. It's not.
It's
an
all
SD
first
card.
take. Let's go.
Yeah, but that is also really exciting and like invigorating to me when it's when you can be a part of that. But getting people to that level, that was the thing Heather and I talked about a while ago, was getting someone to get better at something. Like they improve. Those are big steps, but the biggest step is getting someone to do something at all.
Yeah.
So like going from nothing to something, even if it's rough, that first step is like, it's like the big bang. Like I don't know how to get people to do it, but once you do that, then you can incrementally improve, change, whatever. But
well, a lot of that's why I ended up doing more writing instead of filmmaking, because I love film and I would love to write and direct my own movies. The problem I have with it is I'm not casting aspersions on filmmaking, of course, but the thing that's always held me back is I need a lot of people for it. Writing, I can just do it by myself.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter who else is around, who's into the idea. I can just sit down and do it, because my ideas for making movies were always a little too grand for me to make happen.
Of course.
And that's, it's kind of counter what I was just saying about Rodriguez, in that, and I'm jealous of what he was doing. I'm not critical of it in any way. I tried to make a zombie movie. I wrote it to be as small as possible.
Right.
It's 4 people in it. Like, it's really small. But all I can do is hold the camera and direct, and like I still needed 4 other people for it. And
makeup and...
Well, and so that I could do.
Okay.
Not well, but I could I could manage it. And so some friends of mine, we were waiting tables together, and the idea was, okay, after we wait tables for the night, we'll do a night shoot, and we'll just go to my house. I had a house with my roommate, and we'll be able to do it there. I have a roommate. I'll make him the star of it. And we got to do 2 nights of shooting before it fell apart. And the 2 nights were a riot. They were great. I figured I'll make like flashy stuff and it'll be really fun. So I made a fake head out of paper mache and balloons and a cantaloupe and a wig and, all these things. And we blew it up on camera.
Nice.
It was great and disgusting.
Right.
We did a fight scene. I used like dowel pins and foam to make fake legs so we could snap them. And
cool.
They were effective. They were, I'm not, Rick Baker by any means, but they did what they needed to do. And I was so happy and so content doing this, but I couldn't get everyone to stick around with it.
Right.
Writing the book, I can write whatever the hell I want. It'll go as big as or as small as I want it to, which is, a lot of fun.
Right. And that's... I've had
it's also lonely as a result.
Well, I've had the same issue because I have I grew up with friends and things. It was always tough to be the one that's like, let's do this, let's do that. And then you're kind of like pushing the thing to happen, that then it just turned into like, well, I'll just do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so what can I do just on my own? But I somehow came across a guy the other day who has the whitest name I've ever heard.
Ooh.
And have you ever heard of Cal Newport?
Cal Newport. I like that his last name's a city in the state that his first name is.
Yes.
Okay.
It's fantastic. It's the whitest name ever. But I actually, for whatever reason, like he had videos that were recommended to me, where he gives a lot of talks about social media and like detoxing social media and clearing your mind and stuff. But he goes into this thing. I forget what he calls it, but it felt research based. I definitely have anecdotal evidence of it, but where boredom is a good thing.
Yeah.
Because like you talked about the generation that had to go outside to do stuff.
Yeah.
Because if you're home, you're bored. But when you're bored, then you think of stuff to do.
Yeah.
And he was sort of talking about that's the important thing, where if you're stimulated all the time and every time you're bored, you get this positive feedback to your brain of like, now I get to play a game or check an app or do whatever, then you never, which I know this is not a new argument to be made.
No, but it's a vital one because people are still not doing it.
Right. And his thing, I forget how he talked about it, but it was almost like a meditation where if you do something physical, like go for a walk or do something and just work on one problem. So if you're like, I have a story that I can't crack or a issue that I'm dealing with at work or whatever, I'm going to go on a walk. I'm just going to think about that issue. If you're doing a low level physical activity, your brain just starts clicking all the things together. And I used to ride my bike all the time, and I would oftentimes leave with with an issue and come back with a solution. And I guess it was exactly what he was talking about. But I don't know why I brought that up, but it was important. Well, I don't remember.
My process is, well, one, a lot more first world entitled than some would be. And I realize how spoiled this is going to sound as soon as I say it. My biggest breakthroughs on the book that I'm finishing right now, I'm going to finish it like the next 3 days. They've all come in 2 moments. Either when I was on a walk and walking,
sitting in a
the
chair
whole
made of
book
money.
changed. Smoking cigars. No, the other one is when I'm really stuck, I go out and I get a massage,
Oh, yeah.
which is not a cheap thing to do.
Right.
But I'm laying there, I can't go anywhere. And I lay there silently and just think about the problem. And through that I'm getting a massage, I get so relaxed that the solution will come.
Right.
It will show up.
Wish I were that good at getting massages.
I wasn't until recently.
Yeah, we've tried. Heather has helped, and we've gotten some great massages, but it's always like 25 minutes in before I actually get relaxed. The rest of the time is just like pain, like
here's what I want to
scared
do.
to have
when they say
person-
like undress to your comfort level, I always want them to go away, and then when they come back, I'm in a tuxedo. That's what I want to, but I can't figure out, like, I'd have to have a lot of, like, a bag with me, and that doesn't make sense.
And it really depends on the place, because if it's the like $45 1 hour place, they're just gonna be like,
they're not gonna laugh.
what is this?
But I'm gonna be so thrilled that I'm now in a tuxedo. I just find this to be a funny idea.
See that you have
This would be great for me.
yes. Okay, but anyway, going back to that idea, it's okay. Because this we're going in a different direction, which I am going to take the show because I need to, and I realize that I can't.
I love it.
But that idea of having some kind of method, because that's the deal I see with students, and you see it too, is they want to be something, do something. A lot of times it's totally in their grasp, but they're waiting for like permission, or they're waiting for somebody to do it for them or tell them how to do it. Rather than just like, oh, do it. And you're going to be really, and nobody wants to be bad at something. And you're always bad when you start at something. But plowing through that until you hit a level that's.
I think there's another problem, though, in that students now, and I don't mean to put everything on teenagers, whatever, people in general.
We just deal with them a lot.
Yeah, they're what I experience. People see Beyonce level fame or failure.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's not a lot of middle ground in it. I'm going to be the most famous person in the country. I'm going to be a multimillionaire, or I'm not going to do it.
Right.
Whereas like with my writing, I have a very limited amount of success, to be frank. And some of that's by my choice of I didn't take certain options I could have. I didn't write certain styles. There are other choices I could have made, but I wanted to do the thing I was doing, and I was okay with my small levels of success. I'm still okay with small levels of success because I'm doing the thing I want to do.
Right.
Versus like, do I want to be John Grisham? Like I'd take his paycheck.
Right.
I don't want to write those fucking books.
No.
That's not interesting to me. And whatever, if I don't know, what's the level of success that is acceptable?
Well, yeah. And what is enough? I'm always turned off by like, you see it a lot in businesses where people just need, if you're not growing, you're dying. And it's like, why?
Yeah.
Like, you could also just be sustaining something that is fulfilling.
Yeah.
And making it like improving, but it doesn't mean you have to.
Right.
And that kind of thing, like you can decide for yourself what your level of success is, which is why that whole comparison being the thief of joy thing comes into play, because you make something that you think's amazing, and then you see like someone else did something a little different. You're like, oh, my thing does suck. Or
Yeah. Oh man,
I struggle with it.
I do struggle with it, but this is very contradictory, and I realize I'm self-contradictory in all these things. But that's I don't know, the nature of being a human being is I am happy with what I do, but I definitely feel a need to compete all the time.
Oh
still.
yeah.
But that's what's driving me to work hard all the time. Not that I need to beat that person, but that I need to continue in my growth in some way.
Yeah.
So it's weird. It's all very contradictory and strange.
Well, there's no answer. There is no
Yeah.
solution, which is
Yeah.
kind of the cool part. But the other thing I was going into was when you talked about the tuxedo at the massage parlor. There's one of my favorite things about you is the joke that's just for you. Is you're someone who appreciates a joke that
Yes.
that is just for you, because that has been most of my life.
Right.
And I when I see somebody laughing at a joke that they did for themselves, that's my favorite thing. I don't care if I don't get it. I don't care if I'm not involved with it. Like, that is beautiful. And I think that it's worth telling the family portrait tradition,
Sure.
which I've heard a few times, but I would love to hear again.
It's a hell of a thing. So my wife is okay. So let's be clear. When I say my wife in the Borat voice, it is a Borat reference, but it's also a comedy Bang Bang reference. It's a whole thing. So anyway, my wife is a wonderful person. Everyone thinks that their wife, and as they should. That's lovely. Mine is exceptionally. One of the traits I like most in people is when they are game. They're
She's on
game.
board, it seems like,
And
with
she
a lot.
is on board with anything. She is game for anything you want to suggest. She's like, fuck yeah, let's do that. That sounds like a great idea. It's a trait, I don't know that I have it as much as I would like to, which is maybe part of why I admire it so much. But whatever you say as an idea, she'll go for it. She'll give it a shot, which is a wonderful trait to have in a human being. And she also has a wonderful, rich sense of humor.
Mm-hmm.
And she's supportive of all my nonsense. So I'm a little mixed up on the timeline of this. We sometimes call them our engagement pictures. So I guess we were engaged, but I'm not totally certain that we were at the time. We met and got engaged extremely quickly. And there was, that period where I said I was going to marry her, whatever. It's not the point. So we went to the grocery store. It was in Denver. And there was a table set up in the produce section saying, get your portrait taken. And we were like, fuck yeah, let's do this. But it turned out you had to set an appointment for it. It's 3-4 days later, whatever it was. And we said we should get our picture taken, but we should do it in character. So we went and got crazy outfits, and not crazy like Halloween costume.
Right.
People who weren't us.
Just weird people.
Just weird. And so we went, and they had the photography studio, for lack of a better phrase, these kind of curtained off things back where the produce was kept, like in the back.
In the freezer?
In storage. So it wasn't like in the cold room, but it was like the bananas were there. Like there were crates of bananas nearby. And there's this woman who had just moved to the United States from Germany. So has a thick German accent. My wife has sleeve tattoo. She had one sleeve at the time. So she's wearing long sleeves because she doesn't want them to show. She's wearing a long curly wig. She put in her retainer from when she was a teenager. I had a weird little mustache similar to the one I have today, actually. And slicked my hair down real hard. And we did the ugliest pictures someone could ever do. And this poor girl, this woman, was trying to make us look good and failing spectacularly to do so. And she kept trying to figure. And Mindy, my wife, is a very lovely woman. And it is hard for her to conceal that she's very good looking. It's not hard for me to conceal how I look because I'm naturally, you really got to polish this thing to look acceptable. So I looked fucking terrible. I looked greasy and weird. I had a weird voice going. And the photographer kept asking things like, so how did you two meet? And she's trying to figure out, why is this like this? And we had a whole backstory worked out of my wife had children from another marriage and she needed someone to support her and her kids. And I was the first guy who came along. So she was settling for me. It was this whole
It was just out in the open?
Yeah, it was like, this was the backstory we had worked out.
Oh, okay.
Right, we didn't say any of that. We kind of kept it a little, but this is
the situation your characters were going into.
Right.
And your teacher said you're a bad actor. Okay.
She said it wasn't my future. I
She
feel
could see
actually
you
I'm
now.
a pretty good actor, but anyway. So I'm not a good stage actor. I'm a good camera actor.
Performance
I'm a
artist.
little small in my performances. I have big performances. I don't understand. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. So We get back the pictures. They're a lot of fun. People reacted to them. And then as we got deeper in our relationship, now we have children. And it's become a thing every year. We do the ugly photos. And they have gotten progressively stranger and stranger. To now we go to JCPenney or wherever it is. We make the appointment to get our pictures taken. And we have new characters. Mine's pretty much always named Ned, but he's a different Ned every time. He has different voices. And he's just become terrible. And my wife has different characters that she does. And we stay in character throughout. And we've trained our children, who are still quite young. They're 4 and 6, almost 7. And from when they were babies, we've been doing this. So they know, like, when there's a picture, don't smile. Be grouchy. One year, Jet, my oldest, was asleep in the car, and we were like, perfect. So we woke him up, brought him inside. He was grouchy and mean as shit during the pictures. Those pictures are excellent. We had Rocket, my youngest. We gave him chocolate in the back of the car. We were wearing all white. And so we gave him chocolates so he'd smear them all over himself. And then he wasn't as, dirty as we like. So my wife took him out of the car and rubbed him against another car to make him dirty and dusty. They are outrageously bad pictures. And my favorite was, I don't think my wife knew I was going to go quite as deep into character as I did. We were running a little bit behind. We have both kids with us. We run into the store. I don't know where the thing is, where the photo studio is in the JCPenney. And we find a help desk, and I said, "Oh, where is it? We're late." And she almost had an aneurysm, trying not to laugh. And so we find employees as I'm screaming, "I wouldn't we'll lose our money." And so I'm making these horrible, I just made your dog bark with how horrible that voice is. And so someone's directing us, like, it's down there.
Yeah.
It'd be right there. It's like a Jerry Lewis almost
Right,
kind of
just
voice.
over the top.
And it's way over the top. But everyone is a professional in their job and assuming that I'm a real person.
Right.
So you can't mock
They're not going to mock
this
a person.
weirdo. Yeah, he seems like he crawled out from under a bridge, but what are you going to do? So then when you get the photographs taken, the game is get them to try and make you look good and fail at it. So when they say like, I'd feel bad, but they have a wonderful story when they go home. If you won't believe these people
Right,
I
that's
saw.
true. Maybe they have copies of the photos.
I guarantee they do. They are doing illegal things and stealing these photos because how could you not? So they'll say like, smile for me. Okay, the key is smile, but don't have a nice smile. Make a weird like someone's put fishing line in the corners of your mouth and pulled it back the wrong direction. Like make that face. And they're not going to say, okay, smile better, because that's a fucking terrible thing to say to someone. They're just going to go, great job.
Click.
Keep smiling. They'll say to me, hold each other and how about a kiss? And my wife will not kiss me back as I just mash my face into hers. They are agonizing photos. They're painful.
And do you have any normal family portraits?
None. None. My parents fucking hate this. They're like, can we please get a real family portrait? And we say, no, you cannot.
So God forbid you guys go on a cross-country trip and are sucked up by a tornado or something.
Oh, there will be
the
no
picture that's
good.
on the news of
will
the
be
family that went
outrageously
missing.
bad. There are no good ones. If I go missing,
Yeah, they're not going to be able to find you.
no, because I don't look like that person. And not to say I look terrific by any means, but I'm not that guy. My favorite moment in any of them, which I told you this, is I had Jet. Jet was about 4, I guess, at the time. And they said, hey, Dad, how about you put your son up on your shoulders? Right? And I said, well, I haven't since I hurt my back in the accident. And I put Jet on my shoulders for the picture and started crying as though I was in agony. And they're like, you don't have to. I was like, take the picture faster. As I wept from pain from holding Jet as he's pulling on my hair. And those pictures are completely bonkers. So every year we do these photos and they come out. And we started this thing a few years ago. I need to get you one next time. We put the pictures on coffee mugs.
Oh, great.
And these coffee mugs are coveted items among our friends. We've had to order more and more of them every year because people say, please get me a coffee mug. We're to the point where we're ordering like 50 of them a year.
It's a whole business.
It should be. We should be charging for these. People say we should make a calendar. Whenever there's things online of, wacky family does this. Everyone I've ever known sends me the article to be like, your family's doing this too. But even because we go real big.
Way above and beyond. That's the competitive part.
It is. We go real big on this. But the catch with us is we try to be believable in them. I don't want people to think, oh, this is a joke.
Right.
When they're taking the picture. I want them to really
They want you to
good.
succeed.
So this is the kind of joke of, I'm going to be amused by this. I don't give a shit if anyone else is. I'm going to love it.
It's
I'll be so happy.
It's so good. 'Cause the thing that made me remember it is because I have these jokes where like I start cracking up and I'll show Heather and she's like, I get why you're laughing, but like I don't get the joke. You need to tell Rob this kind of thing. And it's a lot of like typos. There's I don't have my phone with me, but there's a guy online called Obvious Plant, and he makes fake toy packages, and it and some of them are like, and he posts them like he'll put them in stores, and so people will just see them.
Yeah.
Like Easter's coming up, and his most recent one was like the plastic Easter eggs were there, but he repackages them, prints out whole things that look great, and it just says spider eggs.
Oh my God.
Filled with just spiders, but it's just those. Or it's one where it'll be like a bag of like those rubber horses that are like little model horses that kids play. It's like pharmacy toys.
Yeah.
And it's
Pharmacy toys.
Yeah.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
and instead of the label, it just says like weird dogs, or like it'll have these things that are it's like knockoff Avengers, but it's like they have no superpowers. It's like just Ned or like whatever. They're amazing, and like I tear up laughing at these.
Well, and the thing I really love about that, God, there's so many things I love about that. So much effort for such minimal outcome.
There was a
Like, he won't get to see someone buy it.
I know. He just takes the picture. But there's
good.
my favorite thing, I forget what this website was. This was old internet, like Web 1.0, but it was this guy would go make restaurant menus. He'd make his own. He'd go to McDonald's, to bring it all back to McDonald's.
Wow.
And this was when American Pie just came out. He literally would measure and then take photos and then go home and mock up the McDonald's menu. But where it was the same prices and the same items, but it would have like Jason Biggs with like the McDonald's apple pie, and like the descriptions would be like, so good you'll want to vomit it up and eat it again, or like weird little things. And he would go in the drive-thru and just replace. It was back for their old digital, and like no one's getting hurt, and it takes so much work, and it's just absurd enough that like it's the best thing in the world to me when I hear those things. But the thing that happened the other day was Facebook got in trouble, which they tend to do. They take a step forward because I'm not a huge fan of the company.
Sure.
And there's the joke online that Mark Zuckerberg's like an alien that just tries to be human because he doesn't understand how humans work.
Okay, sure.
Which you can completely see.
Yeah.
And
I hadn't heard this, but it makes sense.
Heather really won me over because she was explaining that a while ago Zuckerberg like really wanted to double down on restoring Facebook's privacy like reputation, and so he was like really big on like focusing your attention and not using it in unhealthy ways and protecting consumers. And I was like, this is great. Like, it sucks that they do terrible things, but if a company is willing to fess up and go like, we messed up, we're fixing it, I think that's huge.
Better.
But then this thing just came out last week where it was a whole bunch of like data and videos and presentations where he was leveraging user data to get advertisers. And so if it was something like Amazon, he'd be like, you can have access to everything from our users, their photos, their posts, or whatever. But if it was like a competing thing, like another chat service or something, it'd be like, you get nothing. And so they would try to entice certain advertisers by just giving them everything, and they'd push others away by giving them nothing. But anyway, I read the article on Reddit, and the top comment was, well, he's got to make money to smoke all those meats for his friends. And I was like, what does that mean? and luckily somebody else goes, I'm out of the loop. Can you explain that? And someone goes, oh yeah, it's from this gem. And I guess, I don't know when this was, but Zuckerberg was trying to do a Facebook Live, like test Facebook Live. And it was him like in, presumably it was supposed to be his backyard, but it was a backyard, and it was a terrible backyard, like just a really crappy grill, like dirt patchy, like just like the most average rental home backyard you could ever find. And he was like smoking meats and just talking about like, I'm out here, like he was just live streaming smoking meats for his friends, and the internet just ate it.
Loved
and
it.
like it was all these moments of like human Mark Zuckerberg like trying to smoke meats. And the thing that got me, and I don't know why, it's not even like that funny, but somebody just said like, Yeah, you know when this was over, a bulldozer just came and took that whole set down and just threw it in the trash, right? Like, and that whole idea of like setting up, I don't know, that just like
Okay,
killed me.
you will love this. So this has prompted 3 jokes that I set up in some way that made me happy that no one else liked.
Perfect.
Okay, so I worked at this restaurant called Vesta in Denver. That's a very hip, very acclaimed restaurant.
Okay.
I worked there for almost 10 years. I worked there a long time. It was like a real formative experience in my life. And these things happened there. 2 of these things happened there. So there was a chef there at the time named Brandon Foster who became very intrigued by curing and smoking their own meat. So
Okay.
they were doing all this stuff. They set up a whole thing on the premises. It was very impressive. He's a brilliant man. He's an excellent chef. But he was very proud. He's giving all the waiters a tour one day that he'd set up this smoking, not smoking room, but this curing room, right? He had this old refrigerator that he had adjusted the thermostat on it so it was just the right temperature for this. It was a huge thing. It was very difficult. And it is very hard. And he put in hours and hours of work. And he said, I had to put in a new seal around this because it wasn't working right. It was holding in the air and all this. And he finishes up. He says, does anyone have any questions? And I raised my hand. I said, yeah, Rob, what's up? And I said, I know they usually eat fish at the circus, but are you concerned this seal is going to eat all the cured meats? And I was so happy. And he looked at me and no one laughed. He shook his head with a profound sadness that he had just given us this 30-minute explanation of all his hard work for this amazing thing he achieved. And I immediately made the stupidest joke I could think of with a totally straight face. And he just kind of sadly, and I was so happy. Not because he was hurt. He ended up laughing about it later. But it was the worst possible question at the time. And that gave me great joy.
Of course.
And then we'd have meetings before every meal, right? Where we'd eat the special and this and that. And we had a different chef at the time named Matty Selby, the opening chef of the restaurant, an internationally acclaimed man, a very impressive guy who loves bad jokes. Not bad jokes in the way we do. Like, he loves jokes and his are all shit.
Okay.
So this is pre-Amazon. I had like mail off for this, and I buy a slide whistle. And I smuggled it into the restaurant in my shirt. And I had it like hidden in between the buttons of my shirt so the handle was available and I could just tip my head down and get the mouth of the whistle in my mouth. And he told a joke and I went, boo, during a meeting. It was a moment of such extreme joy in my life. It was weeks in the preparing just so I could do that one time.
It's so worth it.
Oh, God, I still have the slide whistle.
I have one at my desk at work. Yeah.
It's in my desk at school. And it makes me so happy to have it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, and then one more. You'll like this because it's a school one. So I have all these frames. I don't have them up in my room, in my new room, because I don't have the layout for it. But I bought all these cheap $1 frames from the dollar store. And I put in reproductions of movie posters I liked. And I had them all over the place. And my student assistant at the time, who is this really lovely, really smart, really hip young woman, she has the task of doing this. So she takes out they have the temporary picture of some loving family. She'll get out. So there's a pile of these. There's like 30, 40 of them. And she says, what am I supposed to do with all these? I said, I don't know. Whatever you want. So she one day says to me, listen, I started making something. I don't know if you're going to like this. I said, okay. So it was the picture of this particular frame was this smiling elderly African-American couple who are just grinning and clearly delight. Just a delightful couple. She took them and she cut them out so it's just their silhouette and arranged them in this fan. So they're like just people radiating out from a center of themselves. And I was so happy I couldn't see straight. I was like, this is the best thing I've ever seen. And I started buying more frames just so we'd have more of this picture. So we have tons of them. And I hung them up on the wall above my desk and taped them down. And then I put a small piece of paper above it that said, always watching, always laughing. And that's all it said. And students came in the next day horrified.
Of course.
What is that? What is that? What are they doing? And I realized I didn't have a good explanation for this. So instead I turned and I looked at it and went, what do you mean? And I pretended for 2 years there was nothing there. Students would come up and ask and point out and go, this thing, who are these people? I go, I don't know what you're talking about. For 2 years, I pretended there was nothing on the wall.
That's a long con.
It was, and they would kids were into the joke. They knew I wasn't going to tell them, but they were still agonized by it. So they would take pictures of it on their phone and show it to me. This, what the fuck is this? Tell me what this is. I'd say, it's a phone. I don't know. What do you want from me? And they'd go up and they'd try to like hurt it. So I had to tape down all the edges really hard so they couldn't get their nail under it to try and tear it off. And I had to like be on guard when kids were in the room because people were eager to tear this thing down. It was a thing of what is that? Who are those people? And I don't know what you mean. And it made me, and then it got to the point where kids would bring in other students and say, come and see this thing and tell me what you see. And all these kids are coming in and look at this. And then it got to a point where students would take my side in it and pretend nothing was there. It really became this huge
comes full circle
thing. And then I took it down, just with no warning, took it down and put up a sign that said, there's nothing here. And kids came in and went, where is it? I said, where's what? And they'd go, the thing, the people, where is it? And I would just read the sign and go, well, there's nothing there. What do you mean there's nothing there? And they go, no, this sign's here. And I said, there's nothing there. And would just read the sign out loud over and over. And it made me so happy.
I love every part of that story.
Years of this. It was fantastic. I think it ended up being 3 years, actually. It was 3 years I did that. It was a long time.
And that's why you're Teacher of the Year.
Because I just torture students.
Oh, well, thank you for for all of that.
We need to start a new one. We need to make something weird because we're in the same building.
Yeah.
But we're a floor apart. We need to make something strange happen.
I agree.
Some kind of rivalry, like a fake rivalry. Something. We can't do pranks, though, because your room is full of expensive equipment.
Yes, it is.
So it's got to be something, though. I don't know what.
Something
Strange.
We'll talk about it off pod in case any kids listen.
Yeah. But they'll be the special ones who are in on the joke. Having a couple kids in on the joke's good because you can recruit them into
the inside players. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
That's not a bad thing.
Well, thank you for spending this time and sharing all this stuff. Is there anything you want to share, promote? Podcast, books?
Sure.
People want to follow Rob. Where do they go?
So, podcast is Real Disagreement, REEL. It's on all the major things. By all means, listen to it. It's really funny and worthwhile, and I think it's very smart. I think it's really good.
It is awesome.
Our next episode you'll be a guest on, actually.
Oh, yes.
And it will be comparing Matrix Reloaded and Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, which will be very exciting. This season's going to have some kind of changes up in how we usually present things. In prior episodes, we've done Miami Connection, and we've done some terrible movies. We've done some great movies. We did Frankenhooker. By all means, watch Frankenhooker and then listen to the Frankenhooker episode and find out how I make the argument it's a feminist masterpiece.
Oh.
Yeah, things get real weird on it. As far as writing goes, there's a couple websites I publish to here and there. Coachella Review had a short story of mine not long ago. Book and Film Globe is a book and film reviewing site, and I've got a couple things on there. So just, I'm around.
Cool.
Hopefully next book comes out soon. But here's the thing I'm really going to say. So this is more than just a send-off thing. But I think you know the story. The beginning of the year when I was so ill.
Right, yeah.
So I very nearly died. And that's not hyperbolic.
Out of nowhere.
I spontaneously developed an allergy to a medication I was taking, and my body shut down. Heart, lungs, everything just quit. So I was in the ICU, and it was really terrible. And coming out of it, it's the same thing you and I were talking about at the very start of all this, of life is finite.
Yes.
It doesn't continue forever. And that is an important fact to acknowledge in life. And it's scary, but I don't, and part of this goes to my, I was going to say spiritual belief, because it's really more lack thereof, of, this world's the one I have. This life is the one I have. So I need to make it count. I need to make things matter. I need to tell the people I love them. I need to do the interesting things. If I'm reading a book and I don't like it, I stop reading it to start on another one, because I don't have time for things that aren't good. And I don't know. I guess I would just tell people, you shouldn't need to have a near-death experience to appreciate that life is special, and you need to do as much as you can, as intensely as you can, while you can.
Perfect. I didn't want to say or make a noise during that because it was such a perfect bit of advice. So If you listen to this whole episode, just skip to that end part. 'Cause that is by far the best part.
That's the enthusiasm project right there, right?
So, till next time, I'm Tom. I'm at Sonar Tom and all the things. And thank you so much for listening. I never know how to end these, so I'm just going to end it. I'll see you next time.
That was perfect.